Welcome back. A few weeks ago, I attended the CharIN's Volts Conference and Interoperability Testival in Long Beach, California. CharIN is a global association with over 320 members dedicated to promoting interoperability and unified charging standards like the Combined Charging System, CCS, and the Megawatt Charging System, called MCS. CharIN holds these testing symposiums at various locations in the US and Europe a few times a year. The purpose of them is to make sure that regardless of who makes the electric vehicle, who makes the charging hardware, who manages the payment systems, and who makes the software that the charger runs on, doesn't matter, that it all just works regardless of who made what. Now, I had the opportunity to speak with representatives from many companies at the Testival, and I got 4 of them to come on and do video interviews, which we're going to take a look at in a minute. I also interviewed Michael Keller, who's a board member of CharIN, to get his thoughts on why these Testivals are so important. But first, let's take a look at a short animated video that kind of explains what these Testivals are all about.
CCS is globally used. Most regions of the world are defining CCS as the mandatory standard. A smooth and seamless charging experience is a crucial key for the market rollout and customer adoption of electric vehicles. To enhance the charging reliability between electric vehicles, EVs, and charging stations, EVSEs, interoperability tests are organized by CharIN around the globe. However, with an increasing number of new EVs and EVSEs coming into the market, more and more interoperability tests are needed. To overcome this complexity, the CharIN Conformance Test System, CCTS, was established. A test method which simulates the EV, or EVSE respectively, by defined test specification and test cases. CCTS reduces the test complexity enormously. Instead of testing all types of EVs or EVSEs, an automated conformance test against a single CCTS device is sufficient. The test procedure is conducted by CharIN recognized testing houses, who evaluate the CCTS test report and certify all EVs and EVSEs, which successfully accomplish the CharIN conformance test. The CharIN label for all certified EVs and EVSEs serves as quality indicator, which is in particular relevant for charge point operators, CPOs, and governmental institutions. By choosing CharIN certified EVSEs, CPOs can guarantee seamless and interoperable charging at their charge points. In addition, CCTS will significantly, 1. Improve charging reliability, which 2. Enhances the charging experience and safety, and ensures a 3. Happy customer charging, which will eventually result in a 4. Faster market rollout and adoption of EVs.
This video, as well as all of the videos here on State of Charge, is sponsored by Qmerit. Once I've helped you decide which electric vehicle charger you're going to buy, then follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. So we're here today at the Volts Testing Symposium with Michael Keller, board member for CharIN. Michael, why don't we start off with telling us a little bit about what CharIN is?
Yeah, CharIN is a global association which has started in 2015 and has now 320 members all over the world and from all the different areas of the industry. So this is really overarching everyone and every company who needs to be in a discussion for making the proper charging solutions and making it interoperable.
Okay, so here at this testing symposium, tell us a little bit about what you hope to accomplish and why this is even necessary. Why doesn't everything just work?
It's working if it's tested.
Okay.
But there are so many new products and there are so many updates, yeah, and also new functions are coming into the infrastructure vehicle, new infrastructure components, and they need to be tested. Mm-hmm. And because there are so many different outside in the world on the infrastructure, but also different EVs, no matter if it's a passenger car or a truck, they have to test the interoperability, they have to test the conformity. And the best is to come together on a common place with all the different products and exchange then the testing and also interact with the different ones. So that's a very efficient way where the companies can test the product and then do vehicles or trucks or buses.
Absolutely, and I was at the Testival 2 years ago, 2021, and I was actually amazed at how everybody shared information. I think that was one of the most impressive things that you had. The teams from Mercedes doing charge recordings and coming up with data, and then the guys from BMW would come over and basically say, oh, take a look at what we got here, and they would share data, and you don't see that in the normally, you know, like the competitors don't share data, but here I think everybody recognizes how important it is to get this to work, so that public charging and just charging in general is a seamless operation.
Yeah, it should be, and there's still some work to do to make it happen. Yeah, so that's why all the companies come together and make it even more reliable and more interoperable, and that's I think the key for the user experience. And also we are testing here the new function, which is already on the road, but it's still growing to be there. It's called Plug and Charge, which is based on a PKI in the background, so it's certified, so it's very data secure. But that's also a feature where a lot of more components and more parts have to interact, and that is very important to have this testing also included for a seamless charging event for the customer.
Absolutely, and you guys might have heard a beeping and now a little bit of a noise. Unfortunately, we can't show this. We're not allowed to show any of the vehicles, but an electric bus and an electric truck just drove by us, which is so cool. I wish we could share this stuff. But there's another thing that's really cool. Talking about electric buses and electric trucks, there's a ton of them here. I mean, I don't even know how many electric trucks and electric buses are here, but they're here to test something really cool, which is right behind Michael. Tell us a little bit about that giant connector that's right behind you.
Yeah, these are one of the solutions we in the CharIN community made. So this is the MCS connector, and this is an MCS charger. And MCS stands for Megawatt Charging System. This is necessary to really have then the power for the big long-haul trucks to be charged in a short amount of time to go to the next round. And this is up to theoretically 4.5 megawatt. And this system here is Keller 1.2, which is for the typical truck usage, the normal what you need for a normal break to recharge for the next trip. And that's, I think, one of the big things what CharIN and the CharIN community mainly, because CharIN is just supporting the framing, but the community and the companies are doing that. And they have brought together 112 companies, I think, all over the world to really define this megawatt charging system in a way that's commonly used all over the globe. And even beyond that, in the meantime, we have also an agreement of the different parts of the industry that the connector in the trucks, no matter if it's in Europe, US or somewhere, will be on the same location. So we can really plan already the sites for charging in a way that it's very easy to make with a standardized setup everywhere on the world is set up. And that's, I think, a big, big positive thing what you can learn out of having such a big community and working commonly together.
Absolutely, and you said everybody in the world. Now, we've seen some reports that Tesla with their Semi might use a different connector. I know you probably can't go into detail on that, but is there a possibility that everyone will use the same connector at least?
Absolutely. I totally trust on that, because Tesla was part of this development of this connector here. And say that, okay, they will also use this connector in future, so they will also spread out all over the world with the same connector like the rest of the world is doing. That's what I understood out of the discussions, because they were part of it. They were also bringing a lot of their experience, a lot of their understanding of the specification for such a megawatt charging system into the working group with the 110 other companies together. That's
awesome. Well, let's hope that that's the way it ends up, because for megawatt charging, we can't have a repeat of what we have in the industry now with CCS and CHAdeMO and Tesla's connector and J1772 and NACS Type 2. It's kind of a mess, but we've got smart people and we've got organizations like CharIN trying to make everything work seamlessly. And I want to thank you for your efforts. I wish the public could see everything that's going on in this testing symposium. There's a lot of really smart people working really hard to try to improve the overall charging experience from everyone. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Keep up the good work and make charging seamless and perfect for everybody.
That's the goal. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're here at Volts with Sam Kelaher from ABB Mobility. Sam, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do for ABB?
Right, so I am the US service team lead. So I manage a team specifically for technical support on the remote side. I also do a lot of work in collaboration with our R&D team for things like interoperability testing as well.
Well, that makes sense because we are at the interoperability testing event here at Volt. So tell me a little bit about why it's so important for you to be here and why it's important for ABB to test their equipment at this.
Right. So in the grand scheme of things, the EV charging industry in general is very much in its infancy relative to more established industries that have been around for decades and decades or more. And with, as you know, an industry that is maturing in the grand scheme of things, there is a very rapid rate of innovation that we're pursuing, right? That we're being presented with and that we're presenting as well. So with that innovation comes testing, just essentially to make sure that the electric vehicles and the chargers are all working along the same lines and talking on the same page and can accommodate those innovations.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about what exactly you're doing here. I see there's a Mustang Mach-E here. You know, this car has been on the market for a long time. You know, so there should be no interoperability issues with it.
Right.
But you still need to continue to do testing on existing electric vehicles?
Right, so it's primarily due to like additive functionalities, right? So sort of features and functions that weren't present before, but that are being newly presented to the EV charging industry. So for example, there is a new feature that has been around for a little bit and it's becoming more and more robust called plug-in charge, where essentially you can just plug in your vehicle and it will recognize your like a mobile account of the driver and be able to charge it based on some unique identification of the vehicle. And so certain implementations like that are newer are things just have to be work out any kinks beforehand to make sure that the consumer at the end of the day is happy with the product.
Absolutely. And finally, I see we're standing next to an ABB unit. Tell me a little bit about this guy here that you have here for testing.
Yes, so this is one of our T184 units, a Terra 184. This is sort of one of our newest chargers at the moment. And what's unique about this charger is that it can do up to 180 kilowatts as a standalone unit. So you don't need an additional piece of equipment on the side, which in the past has been something that the industry has been trying to consolidate into a single unit, and that we've achieved here. Another unique feature is that this can also charge two vehicles at the same time. So it can implement what we call dynamic charging, where if a second vehicle plugs in, it can reallocate its power distribution accordingly, essentially.
Very good. And this is one of the chargers that are going to be used in the new NEVI funding, right? This qualifies for that program.
It does indeed. So we have a manufacturing facility that we opened up in Columbia, South Carolina, and they're focusing primarily on these Terra 184 units. So they're US based, it is eligible for that funding as well.
Very good. Well, listen, thanks for spending a few time here. Good luck with the testing here at Testival, and I hope to talk to you soon.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
So I'm here with Carlos Cortes of BTC Power. Carlos, tell us a little bit about what you do for BTC Power.
Yeah, I'm the CTO of BTC Power.
Okay,
yeah,
very good. So
founder of the company. So we actually started BTC back in the late 90s, and we've been doing forklift charging, payment systems, and then in 2012 we started developing electric vehicle charging systems. So we've been at it for 12, 13 years now.
Yeah, no, I've charged for many BTC Power DC fast chargers, and they usually work. They don't always work, but that's the same with all of the equipment, and that's why we're here today. I mean, this is all about, figuring out what the issues are.
Advancing the technology.
Advancing the technology, making sure that we have interoperability. So tell me a little bit about what you hope to accomplish here.
Well, the reason why we're here, and we've actually been participating in the Volts and formerly test events, is because a lot of the vehicle OEMs will come up, they'll develop new platforms, new technologies, different firmware versions in different systems that are new to each one of the vehicles that are out there. So by us being here, we have an opportunity to do two things. One is a really good mixer, so we get to meet a lot of the new engineers that are actually working on these new platforms, and B, we have an opportunity to test with these devices, and as we do that, we can actually continue to develop the ecosystem of charging, right, which is rather complicated. It used to be, when we started, the first car that I had was Mitsubishi Maiev, small little car. Now there's so many cars that you can actually buy, and now we have trucks, lots of trucks. So the industry has really moved forward, and we're trying to keep up with it. And this is a really good event for us to continue to keep up with everybody and try to develop the technology, right?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I wish I could show what's going on here. This is fantastic, watching all the cars plug into the different charging equipment. Obviously, we're not allowed to show that here. There's some vehicles that, you know, OEMs don't want you to see just yet, and they don't want you to see exactly how they go about this. Understandable. But it's really inspiring to see all of the manufacturers out here and all of the hardware manufacturers working together, sharing data to make sure this works. So are we going to get there? Are we going to get to a point where reliability is at an acceptable level for the customer?
I think the answer is yes, but it's going to take us time. And the reason why is because there's a lot of different vehicles and chargers, and what we're trying to do is actually highly complicated. We have a plug-in charge with a transportation layer security, which is a cybersecurity system that's actually included into this. And when you have those variables of different vehicle OEMs, different chargers, and something very complicated to communicate with, it creates some difficulties, right? And that's what we're here to solve, right? We're here to make a system that's highly interoperable with each other, but it's going to take us a little bit more time to resolve all the issues. But I think the whole point is it going to be as good as an airline? Yes. At some point in time, we'll be as good as, you know, you get on a plane, you're going to get to your destination, right?
All right. Well, listen, thank you for your time. Good luck.
Thanks, Tom.
Me and the rest of the EV community hopes that you guys get to the point where charging at a public charging station is just like getting gas. You pull up and you never have to worry about it not working.
Right.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Tom.
So I'm here at the EVgo booth now with Jeremy Whaling from EVgo. Jeremy, tell us a little bit about what you do at EVgo.
So I deal with all of the software that runs on the chargers, so the firmware and helping with the UI design and the back-end communications and some of our interoperability.
So that's why you're here at the Interoperability Testing Festival. So tell us a little bit about why it's important to be here. We all know that there's issues with public charging stations, you know, that we don't need to go down that road and talk about it, but you're here to try to solve those issues. Tell me, how do you do that?
Well, we, for one, we get all the vehicles together here at the event. We get all the chargers together and we do several different, you know, switcheroos with all the cars, so you can charge as many of the cars with as many of the stations as possible. And this year, or for this event, they are we have a set of test cases that they're going through. We're submitting them all together to be in a pool, so that way we can all see where we're having issues.
Interesting. So you're pooling the data. It's not like EVgo gets to keep the data that they did with their chargers. Everybody shares the data.
Yeah, as far as I know, that it's going to be made public. I think it's through the CEC stuff.
Yeah.
So, but in general, with EVgo, we're very open with our interoperability testing and our safety testing. Like, yeah. So with automakers, we're always like, here's different ways you can make things better, and we always allow automakers to come by our lab free of charge. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
But you know, the thing about this that I think some people can't understand, and I know this would take a long time to explain, but maybe you could just give us a condensed version. Why is there interoperability issues? We're supposed to have a standard, right? And is it that people don't follow the standard?
It's probably that.
You think that's mostly the case?
Well, it's for one, it's a pretty complex standard, but also that as the standard is written, the standard is kind of written as if you already know the standard and you just want to define some of the details on it. It's not really written of here's how you make a stack for CCS communication. Yeah. So we've seen, like, over time it takes a bit longer for people to like come up to speed and like know where the different pain points and fault points are that are just they're not written down in the standard itself. Yeah. So we've seen just minor variations between things. Sometimes you'll have things where it's completely the vehicle's fault or completely the station's fault. But a lot of the different problems we've seen are where it's like we're doing something half wrong, they're doing something half wrong, and that's what creates some of the problems. Right. But overall, in general, that's where a lot of these events are for, is getting that knowledge up and making sure people are following the spec and stuff like that.
Okay, last question.
Sure.
So many of my followers say, why don't we just switch to Tesla's connector, the NACS, okay? Yeah. Now, I think it's a more elegant design, but let's put the design to the side. Just switching to the connector, if we put those connectors on your stations, would it make any difference?
Not that much.
It's all in the software and the
So there's many facets that are causing the issues of reliability that we're seeing today. I think the connector usability of Tesla is absolutely, it's much better. It's a much more consumer-friendly version. But for us, like we're trying to charge all EVs. With Tesla, you can use the CCS connector,
Yeah.
the adapter to plug into your Tesla with the CCS1. It's not actually going to solve that much.
Yeah,
It's kind
the
of
problems
general.
aren't in the connector is what the
Yeah.
point is. It's more in the software and the standard.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we do a number of durability testing on connectors and stuff like that. So we've tested some of the Tesla connectors, a lot of the CCS connectors, and when we do our connector testing, we always publish it back to the connector manufacturer for improvement. So we do this for all of our connectors. We actually have a connector qualification test, and then we have a list of qualified connectors that for our manufacturers to use on the product. So
Yeah.
we don't just go by, the manufacturer selected this cable, we're going to use it. No, we specify which cable we want on which product. So.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you for your time. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Good luck. I hope you learn a lot here. I hope you improve the public charging experience for all of us
Yeah.
out there.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what it's all about.
Yep.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, so I'm here with Cliff Fietzeg from In Charge Energy, and we're sitting in a school bus. Cliff, tell me a little bit about this bus here.
It's actually an electric school bus. This is the exciting part. So we see here an electric school bus which can be replacing all of the diesel school buses. This is a green power. We also have Bluebird and IC bus here on site, and it's really the future of pupil transportation.
Absolutely, and the buses are being tested for compatibility also along with the electric vehicles because they need to be using charging equipment.
Yeah, and that's the exciting part, because when we started the first testing symposiums, probably already 7-8 years ago, there were only controllers, there weren't even cars. And then slowly we had electric cars coming in, passenger cars, and now probably since a year or so we really see commercial vehicles. We see trucks and buses. And again, school buses, there's a lot of funding out there. There's EPA funding for electric school buses to really move schools to electrification, which is amazing.
Okay, so briefly, I know you can go on for hours about this, but why do we need these type of testing symposiums? Why do we need this? Is it that difficult?
It is, and we see all the aspects around reliability on public charging, and this is what we discussed at the conference yesterday. But these kind of testing symposiums are actually one-to-one testing between vehicles and chargers. So we have probably 30-40 different charger providers here, and even more vehicle providers. And the standards are not clear enough right now that even if everyone implements the standard perfectly, it might not work under all circumstances. So that's why you have that's the engineers from the chargers and the engineer from the vehicle side looking at the logs, testing, so that issues can be found in these kind of environment instead of with the customers, because we all don't want to have pissed off customers.
Well, there currently are a lot of angry customers.
Yes.
Are we going to get to that point? How long is it going to get to the point where public charging is seamless and we don't have, a 30% or 50% failure rate, Cliff? Are we going to get there?
We will get there. I think there is a lot of activity out of the federal government to bring everyone together, to bring the industry together. And it's not only the testing to get into a charging station, it's the reliability of the chargers, it's also the credit card readers, it's the apps, it's all the authentication. How do you get a charging session started? So far, it's still the problem getting into a successful charging session. No one wants to try 3 or 4 times. We are over that.
All right, well, hopefully we're going to get there, but we won't get there without testing events like this. And this is really important, and I commend you for coming out here and with In Charge. And before we leave, maybe just tell us a little bit about what you're doing over there at In Charge.
Oh, In Charge is interesting. So, as you know, before I started my career at BMW, worked at Electrify America, did all the public charging. And In Charge is focusing on commercial charging. So we charge actually these buses, these trucks, mostly in depot settings. And their actually reliability is even higher than for passenger cars. It's frustrating if you have to unplug and replug, but if your school bus is not charged in the morning and the kids cannot go to school, it's even worse. So that's why this kind of testing, also In Charge being part of the testing, is so important.
Okay, well, I hope to learn a little bit about more what you guys are doing at some point in the future. Maybe we could set up a visit and I can come down and check out what you guys are doing down there.
Let's do that. So we have our engineering facility in Richmond, Virginia, and we have a lab there. And there we are testing bidirectional charging, but all the chargers, all the vehicles, and it's actually exciting when you have these big buses and these big trucks in the facility.
Okay, so I'll take that as an invitation.
You have an invitation, but I expect you to come down with your lightning.
Okay, for sure. It's a date.
Okay,
All right.
it's a
Oh, listen,
date.
thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Good luck with everything here, and get all this stuff figured out, please, so people just can go on a road trip and not have to worry about plugging in somewhere.
Exactly. It needs to be seamless, and especially new people coming into EVs, they just have to have a good experience, because we are losing more and more if they plug in and it doesn't work.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.
So if you're still watching the video at this point, you've earned your badge as an EV charging geek like I am. Listen, there's one thing I want to touch on before we leave, and that's the fact that since I recorded these videos 3 or 4 weeks ago, a lot's changed in the world of EV charging, and that's because Ford came out and announced that they were going to support the Tesla connector, or the North American Charging Standard, or NACS is what we typically call it. And then a week later, General Motors came out and said the same thing. Both companies by 2025 are going to have the Tesla connector, or NACS, natively installed on their vehicles. And until then, they're going to provide an adapter to allow people to use the NACS chargers and Tesla superchargers with their Fords and General Motors vehicles. Now, this is probably going to just be the tipping point of how people view the NACS connector. And I think long term, that might be the dominant connector here in North America, but it's going to take a while. All of the OEMs are going to do what Ford and GM did, in my opinion. Within the next couple of months, everybody's going to announce that they're going to allow their customers to use them. And why not? It doubles the amount of DC fast charging points here in North America that the customers can use. And if it's just a matter of buying an adapter that costs a couple $100s, then why not do it and offer a premium charging experience to your customers? Let them go to Tesla superchargers, let them go to CCS stations. They can charge wherever they find a charger. And that's really what the OEMs should be focusing on at this point, making public charging as convenient for their customers as possible. And opening up supercharger network and letting their customers use them also certainly makes it more convenient. There's one thing I want to talk about here briefly is a lot of people knock the EV charging networks out there, except for the Tesla supercharger network, for being unreliable. And it certainly is the case. There's a lot of reasons for them being unreliable. The hardware of the station itself, the connectors, the cables, the software is a big issue. That's what this Testival was really all about, is making sure the software works. It really isn't about improving the reliability of the hardware, like the connectors and the liquid-cooled cables that seem to be problematic. And the North American Charging Standard isn't going to solve all of the problems we see out there now. Yes, the connector is a more elegant design. It's lighter. It's easier to use. It doesn't have that rocking tab that this is a CCS connector here, has this. This is prone to break. The Tesla connector doesn't have that. So, and here's the NACS connector here. It doesn't have that. So it's a lot less likely to have a physical problem. But the software on the back end has really been a bigger problem than the physical connectors. And just by switching over to NACS, you're not going to solve all those problems. People ask, well, why does Tesla just work all the time? And it's really because Tesla is so vertically integrated. They make the cars, they make the software, they make the chargers themselves, they make the software for the chargers, they control the whole thing. So of course it's going to work pretty much all of the time. All of these other companies that are out there have to service vehicles from dozens of different manufacturers using software from different vendors, and it's part of the reason why we've had such problems with public charging infrastructure. So just by companies switching over to the NACS, it's not going to immediately fix all of our problems. We're still going to need to have testing symposiums like this ongoing, because as new EVs come out, new software comes out, new charging equipment comes out, it has to be constantly tested and proven so it works all the time. But I love the fact that we're starting to see the legacy brands say, you know what, I want my customers to have access to Tesla superchargers. CCS isn't going away anytime soon. It may at some point in the future, but we're going to be using J1772 and CCS connectors on charging stations for a long time. And I think the jury's still out on whether or not it's ever going to go away. We might just have both all the time, and all the vehicles can use both. Time's going to tell about that, but I wanted to point that out because I know a lot of my followers say, why don't everybody just switch over to the NACS? All the problems will be solved. They won't all be solved. There's still going to be software communication problems that need to be worked out, and testing, like what goes on at the Testivals, is going to be required on an ongoing basis moving forward. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.